Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I'm your host, JC Granger, and I have the pleasure of having Disney Petit, the founder and CEO of Liquid Donate, on the show with us today. Disney, thank you so much for being on. Tell everyone a little about yourself. What kind of problems do you solve with Liquid Donate?
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name's Disney, and I'm the founder and CEO of Liquid Donate, like you said. And we build software that matches all of the excess inventory and unsellable returns from retailers and brands with the nonprofits and schools that need them to help these retailers save money on product that they were previously landfilling.
That's actually a good question, though, because I don't, I guess I just, maybe most people don't know what does it cost to someone to landfill. Like we think of sending something to the trash as free, like that's saving us
Yeah.
money. We're just getting rid of it. What is the actual cost that happen for retailers and types of companies, even just to send it to a landfill?
That's a great question. And I think we all have this notion of throwing things away, but there really is no away and there is no free in that away. So when we think about a customer return specifically, on average, it costs a retailer $15 to accept that return and landfill that product. And we have 9 billion pounds of returns that are ending up in the landfill every year. And so we knew that there was an alternative way to match and move that product hyper locally and really turn it into a tax receipt, which is a win-win for everybody involved.
That's really cool. And was there anything like this before you started? Like, how about this? How long ago did you start Liquid Donate? Like, tell us a little bit about the origins here.
Of course. So I founded Liquid Donate 3.5 years ago. We have an awesome remote team. There's a team of 10 folks that are behind the company right now that are building it. And it all started because prior to founding the company, I was the 15th employee at Postmates. And so I was able to spend about a decade at Postmates building out last mile delivery logistics and also implementing some social impact programs based on my background as a community organizer that enabled me to realize that a lot of things in this world are just matching problems. If we can build a technical matching algorithm to determine what product needs to go where and be where at this particular point in time, then we can actually take a lot of this excess inventory that exists and make sure that we're turning it into usable product. One of the things that has always bothered me is that school teachers have to pay out of pocket for a lot of products for their classrooms. And I just don't think that's something that a school teacher should really have to do. And so if I have a box of crayons or a box of markers or something like that sitting around my house that I'm not using anymore, why is that not just being able to easily be put into the hands of somebody who's a school teacher who can use that product?
Yeah.
It should be easier than throwing it away.
I agree. But let me ask you a question, though, and this kind of just popped up in my head. How do you compete with those kind of offload retailers like dollar stores, for
Yeah.
example, right? Because I imagine that that's their pitch, but in a for-profit way
Mhm.
to these retailers. Are you saving more money or is there benefits on the tax side? Like how do you counter pitch that? If they're being pitched by dollar store to offload their old inventory, how do you get in there?
So we actually would view the dollar store as a partner. So our
Oh,
goal is for this product to be sold in the and used in the initial form that it was created for. So that is like the gold standard, is that the product is going to be used and sold for what it was initially intended for. But what happens is that there will always be product that falls through the cracks, product that doesn't sell, product that doesn't do well, whatever the case might be, an overproduction issue, trend change. All of these things impact the viability of product in the market. And so, with all of those issues, we can say, hey, try to sell it through an off price channel like a dollar store. And if not, then we can partner with the dollar store. And for everything that doesn't sell through the dollar store, then we can, instead of having it go to an end of life situation, which is the landfill, we provided an extension of life by having it go to a person who really needs it. And we're actually able to match all of that so hyper locally that we're actually saving the retailer money on transit and landfilling costs.
so really, yeah. So if they already have a deal with like a dollar store kind of thing, you don't need to compete. You just say,
No,
okay, well, dollar store, when you have to offload, we're
exactly.
here. Because you're right. I mean, I guess they would be the second to last stop in that
Exactly.
sense. So, and
We're really competing with the landfill.
uh, how is that? I guess my question is, are you competing with it because people don't even know that they can use you, or are you competing with it because there is something I'm not seeing as far as an advantage to a landfill? Like, is there a convenience advantage? Like, I mean, is there, I guess, like, other than people not knowing who you are yet, why would they choose to do that versus work with you? Is there anyone you can't work with?
No, no, there's not. So I think there's a few interesting points in your question here. Um, Number one is this is the way it's always been done. People will say, we're going to sell it, buy a product, we're going to sell the product. If it doesn't sell, we're going to get rid of it. And the get rid of it is the biggest kept secret in retail. Getting rid of it most of the time means that they are incinerating that product or landfilling it. That's not
Really?
the best case solution for a lot of these products, but it's the way it's always been done because it's always been the cheapest and most cost effective action. The thing that I like to compare Liquid Donate to is this idea of the common phrase when people are like, when the car was invented, people were asked, would you like a faster horse or would you like a car? And they would say, I want a faster horse because they
Yeah.
didn't even know that the car was an option. And so the landfill is that faster horse. It's the thing that exists today that they know that they can go to, and it is the solution that has been provided to them thus far. But Liquid Donate is the car. Liquid Donate is the actual innovation in the space that's able to say, hey, if you're willing to do the change management required in order to change the way that you have these end of life products go out, we can actually help you save money and transition the world into a more circular economy. And so right now we have over 150 retailers and brands that are on the journey with us. And it is a matter of things like reach and growth.
Okay, so what paint the picture for me of what it looks like to use Liquid Donate. So for example, is it a marketplace that retailers go in and then find people to offload it to? Is it a software they integrate into their systems that helps logistically send it? How does it actually operate visually, like if someone's trying to imagine this?
Yeah, so we're a software company that makes it easier than throwing it away. And so we actually coordinate directly with the systems that are integrated into these retailer platforms. So if you are a retailer, whether you're a huge retailer, a small retailer, it doesn't matter. If you're doing e-commerce, you can simply download our Shopify app or do a direct API integration if you're not on Shopify. Or if you're using Loop Returns, we have an integration with Loop Returns. You just simply turn the Liquid Donate feature on. What happens is that then, as a retailer, you're able to determine a workflow that works best for you. So if you want to say that, hey, every time a customer goes online to return a product that was in the clearance category, we know we don't want to restock that item. It was already being difficult to sell. That's why we were
Mhm.
discounting it. And so anytime a customer goes online to return a clearance product, instead of sending it back to the warehouse and producing a shipping label for that, which is going to send it maybe 5, 6, 7, 800 plus miles across the country to go sit in a warehouse where we know we're just going to throw it away. Instead, if they're using Liquid Donate, it will instantly produce a shipping label for a nonprofit within about 30 miles of that customer's home, anywhere in the United States or Canada. And so on average, we're saving retailers 61% on the cost of the shipping label, and we're reducing the distance that product has to travel by 91%. And then on the back end, we're automating all of the tax receipt processes so that at the end of the year, their accounting team just has to go in, click one button, and they're able to download a CSV of all of the fair market value of all of the products that were donated in aggregate across the year, across all customer returns. And they're able to see the EIN of every nonprofit that was donated to, that was a 501(c)(3) vetted through Liquid Donate.
So
And
they don't have a whole lot to do here. They literally just, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here if I'm missing something, but they literally just download either software directly into their system or again an app through another major retail software like Shopify, and the rest they set parameters in advance, and then it just automatically happens. They don't have to sit there and approve stuff, and like they can if they want, but mostly it can be very automated.
yeah, we have a fully automated solution for them. It's as automated or as manual as they would like, and we let them have that choice.
Wow, that's amazing. Something we talked a little bit in pre-show that I wanna bring back here. Right now as we're recording, there's this big tariff war kind of going on, and if you go to the bathroom for 10 seconds and come back, it's changed, right? So it's hard to say where it'll be with China or anywhere else in the world, even by the time someone's listening to this. But as of right now, there's about 145% tariff on Chinese goods. And I was asking earlier, how does this affect your business or your clients in that sense? And is there a domino effect? Because from what I'm seeing, the a lot of the retailers that you help would be, let's say, like fashion, for example, right? Like, and you were saying how they might give you their off-season stuff or their non-trendy stuff. But I guess my question is, if this sticks around long enough, in my experience, businesses will figure out a way to rebrand and remarket things to kind of wring that rag so they can try to sell what they do have rather than offloading it seasonally or trend wise. As a marketing guy, like, with enough time and money, I can make a new trend. I can make the old thing come back, right? We see these cyclical fashion trends anyway. So I guess the question is, do you see this as affecting what you do? Or if it does, are you finding other places to help that you can just move this around to?
So we love the idea that someone would rebrand and remarket existing product instead of having it go into an off-price channel and then the landfill, because that is still what's happening with the majority of these goods. Our goal as a company is to help create and accelerate the circular economy. And so that's to reduce, reuse, recycle. And so with that in mind, we're very happy if companies are going to take the extra steps and extra cost to try to sell through product that they have. That is our first goal, is the same or similar use case to what the initial product was intended for. That's awesome. With that being said, we're a business, and so we need to be cautious of our bottom line as well. And so we know that there's actually no shortage of excess and surplus inventory, whether it's from the growing customer returns segment that continues to grow year over year, where we have obviously the software we just talked about, where we do the returns and match those locally. And then we also have this bulk software. So retailers can go to our website and then they simply upload product by the box, the pallet, or the truckload. The product can be completely unmanifested. They might not even know exactly what it is. And we have AI technology that we've built where you're able to actually take a photo of that product and determine what it is. So a box of shoes, a box of, miscellaneous men's clothing, things like that, a pallet of whatever. And we can upload that in bulk to the website to find a nonprofit that is looking for that excess inventory. And so these products could be markdowns, off season, slightly damaged, um, could be CPG product, like consumer packaged goods, like food that is short dated. If short dated food comes into the port and there is, less than 30 days of shelf life or best by date left on that product, a lot of grocery stores won't buy it. And so that product usually gets driven straight to the trash. But with Liquid Donate, because we match and move that product so quickly, we're actually able to get that to nonprofits who are going to be able to distribute that for direct service. Now, with these tariffs, these companies are buying a lot of excess product, and I am very grateful to all the folks in the world who believe that they're going to be able to change trends with marketing dollars, and I do hope that that can be true. But in my experience, there's just so much product coming in, so many trends changing so quickly that it's going to be impossible for 100% of this product to be sold through. And so we really focus on all of the product that is lower hanging fruit, the product that is not going to be able to be easily rebranded and
Just on
rebuilt.
scale, even if you could rebrand a lot, there'd be so much still left over that there's plenty for you to work with, essentially,
And
right?
there's still going to be customer returns. I mean, customer returns for e-commerce have been growing year over year, and
Well, maybe
return
even more so now if people are starting to tighten the belt. I think you end up seeing more returns in general.
perhaps more regret.
Yeah, exactly, right. Kind of some people use it as like a rental service almost for but then and it's hard to say where all the domino effect will go. Maybe they'll start, editing return policies. Anytime something gets out of hand, it kind of has to swing back the other way. But let me ask you a question about Liquid Donate. So how do you guys make money? Do you, so far you described a very seamless process, but how do you profit because they pay you, your customers pay you like monthly or annually on a service subscription? Is there some sort of transactional thing I'm not seeing where you take a little bit of that? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have a service fee and a SaaS model for our software. And so once the retailer were to download the Shopify app, like let's stick with that one, then they're going to be paying a monthly charge that includes a certain number of donations per month. And then once they exceed that, they either move into the next tier or they can pay per label. So it's really up to the retailer and it's all based on volume.
Okay, cool. Um, so far everything sounds like it's gone great, but I've been in business a long time too. So I know that there's always struggles, right? Can you tell the audience a little bit about, I mean, rainbows and unicorns, or what was it like starting off? How did you get going? What are some of the struggles you went through?
Yeah, of course things are complicated, but the one thing I'll focus in on is being a female founder. Being a female founder of a software company is notoriously difficult, and I definitely faced a lot of those issues as well going into the market. Less than 2% of venture capital funding goes to female founded companies. And so there are a lot of data points that show that having a female founder makes it more difficult to raise funds for a company that also has something working against it, which is that our entire demand side of our business is nonprofits, which is also an area that venture capital firms don't know very well and usually run screaming from. And so raising capital was extremely difficult. And knowing that we had a real solution that could be rainbows and unicorns for everybody, and yet being passed up by VC after VC for funding was a very difficult and disheartening process. But luckily, we were able to break through that, and we have some wonderful investors now. After a lot of time and trial and tribulation, we are very well funded now and looking forward to the future.
Are you able to discuss the amount of funding you were able to get initially?
Yeah, so we've raised $7.5 million to date. We've had our rounds led by Uncork Capital and Laconia Capital, one in New York, one in San Francisco.
That is not small. That Congratulations on that. I
Yeah.
mean, and here's the thing, like I like any story where someone went up against higher odds, right? And still, I've always said that the being an entrepreneur is simply the relentless pursuit of never giving up, right? I mean, it's that relentlessness, and I think I've always said that we're a little bit psychotic as entrepreneurs, a little bit, and we're bad at math. We don't own calculators, and here's why. Because if anyone told you when you jumped out of an airplane that there's a 95% chance that that chute won't open, no one's jumping out of that. But you
Mm.
tell an entrepreneur there's a 95% chance that your business is going to fail, we're like, let's roll, let's do it. And that doesn't make any sense. But unless you are delusionally confident like we are, like you'll never stick with it long enough to find out, right? So I always
I guess that's why I've jumped out of a plane 4 times.
yeah, exactly. And honestly, I'm getting bored of that too. I want to do the wingsuiting,
Yeah.
yeah, like see, you always kind of have to hit, a little bit higher. It's just that drug a little bit, right? Just a little more each time. I remember after my third one, I was like, I'm not gonna tandem anymore. I'm gonna go on my own. And then after that, I was like, well, now I'm like, I don't want to just fall. I want to fly like a squirrel. And who knows what the next thing is gonna be? I'm like, yeah, strap a jetpack to my butt. Let's go. But all right, let's talk about your current marketing. So I had the pleasure of talking with your marketing director, Marcy, earlier too. What are you guys doing to get the word out there? I mean, you're on a podcast. Okay, so PR check, right? What else? Because I love what you do so much that I'm also a little upset that I didn't know about it before, right? You've been around 3.5 years. I've never heard of you. And I know there's a lot of retailers and other companies that haven't. What are you doing to change that?
Yeah, we hired Marcy. So we
Yeah, there you go. Marcy's it. That's the solution. For everyone listening, her name is
yeah.
Marcy. We'll get all our
Yeah.
information on there. No, I'm just kidding. We're not gonna let anybody poach her from you. Go ahead.
She's great. So Marcy's been with us for 2 months. So we completed our most recent raise in November of last year. And one of the main things that we wanted for the raise was to hire someone to run marketing. We knew that there's no reason that for such a product that has such an ROI that we should not be more well known by folks like you and retailers in the industry. And so whatever we've been doing for marketing obviously hasn't been working up to this point. And so we saw that as a failure point in the company, and we knew that we needed to raise capital and really hire someone with experience to be able to run that part of our team for us. And Marcy has done a great job of jumping in and getting us on podcasts. We were published in a global trade mag this week on the tariff piece. So a lot of great work
Yeah, see,
being.
that question is coming up. All right.
Oh, it comes
Yeah.
up. It comes up. It's been coming up every day. I mean, I don't have a call where I don't talk about tariffs at this point.
Well, I'm glad to hear you guys are doing well. I guess my question outside of we talked a lot about the benefit to retailers, right? And to your company. But let's talk about the nonprofits. So I have a nonprofit myself as well. I have a foundation where we help raise money to get service dogs for veterans with PTSD.
Wonderful.
But nothing about that is like retail specific. Like we're not like a food bank or anything like that.
Mhm.
How would Liquid Donate be able to help my nonprofit, if at all?
Yeah. So the way that we work with nonprofits is that the items that are being given by the retailers are to be used for direct service for the nonprofits that we serve. So we have over 4,000 nonprofits in the US and Canada that are registered with us today. And so your nonprofit, along with any other nonprofit that might be listening, is able to go to the Liquid Donate website, click nonprofit, and then fill out a short form to register with us. That
Oh, okay.
includes your EIN, and then you tell us the types of items that you would like to be notified about. And so in your instance, it would be anything related to dogs. So collars, leashes, dog food, dog bowls,
Okay.
pet beds, all of that type of stuff gets donated because from the retailer side, we're completely category agnostic. We actually have a really great retailer that we love called Beast and Buckle, and they're a huge donor on our platform. We love working with them. And they are doing, dog harnesses and leashes, things like that. And so it would actually be a perfect fit where you would be able to tell us these are the types of items we need so that when you are handing off those dogs to the veterans, you're able to actually provide them, 1, 2, 3, 4 months of product to go along with that pet. And so they're not having a financial burden right away.
See, that's great because veterans demographically you're usually on a tight budget, right? Some have excelled in being able to create businesses, but we find that the ones that suffer from PTSD,
Sure.
that affects a lot of parts of their life, including their professional life. And, having a dog can be expensive, right?
Mhm.
That's actually really amazing. And, it's interesting because we had thought about trying to manually outreach to like big corporations like Petco or PetSmart, but it's not easy to even know where to start, let alone to get through all that red tape to even just get some donations. Whereas it sounds like I can just go to your website as a nonprofit, sign up, and then it kind of just
It just shows up.
happens, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, then that's probably the next thing I will do after we get off this call. I want to kind of start wrapping up, but I love what you've done. I like your story, especially at Postmates. You told me in pre-show that you had came up with this idea at Postmates. Give us the 30-second reversion real quick here about getting the meals, the donated
Mm.
meals. It kind of sounds like it's kind of what got your brain thinking about this company.
Yeah, so we built a product at Postmates called Food Fight, and that product matched all of the excess food from the restaurants that we worked with shelters in 700 cities around the US. That product was free for the restaurant. All they did was they pressed a button on the merchant tablet that they used to accept all of their Postmates orders, and we would actually dispatch a courier to come pick it up, and then we would also route the courier to the nonprofit or shelter that needed access to that food at that time. And so we really made this easier than throwing it away.
That's awesome. I love that. And then it sounds like that's kind of where is that what kind of got your brain churning a little bit about
Oh,
starting the yeah,
I was like,
that's
if
the
we can match all of this prepared food. So I've been out of the space for a little while now on the food recovery, but I believe it's 40% of usable food in the United States ends up in the landfill.
yeah.
Uh, and that is a lot. And so that was a problem that I wanted to solve. And since Postmates was a food delivery app, it made a lot of sense to leverage our existing infrastructure with restaurants, with the tablet, with the couriers to make this happen. But once we were acquired by Uber, I thought, well, food is a huge problem, food waste and food recovery. But what about retail and returns? I knew that there was over 9 billion pounds of returns ending up in the landfill every year. And so, how do we reroute all of those returns to somebody who can use them, a teacher, a nonprofit, whatever it might be? And so, the matching problem that we had solved through the Food Fight program at Postmates was really imperative in the ability to build Liquid Donate and build out a network of over 4,000 nonprofits. I think it's surprising to folks. There's over 1 million nonprofits in the United States.
Wow.
And so if you think about that Petco or that PetSmart, how many times are they being emailed every day for a donation for this, a donation for that? And having been on that side of it, it's difficult to manage. And who gets what? How do you rate these? How do you keep track of all these receipts? It's impossible. And so Liquid Donate solves that problem, not only for the retailer, or I'm sorry, not only for the nonprofit, but also for the retailer. The retailer says, hey, you know, organization X, thank you so much for your email about wanting donations of product X, Y, and Z. We actually do all of our donations through Liquid Donate. So if you'd like to sign up on Liquid Donate, you'll be able to receive not only donations from us that you could use, but donations from every retailer that aggregates their donations on their platform.
It almost seems like the biggest problem would be if you get too many, right? Like I'm almost like, if I go sign up, am I gonna have 100 bags of dog food sitting on my porch. I go, crap, what do I do with all this? I don't know.
So
Maybe that's something I got
good,
to figure out, right?
good question, but we actually solve for that as well. So on the nonprofit side, when you register with us, not only are you telling us the types of items that would be helpful and supportive for your organization, but you also tell us the quantities in which you can accept them.
Good, because I was thinking, man, I mean, what if it works too well, right? Um,
Yeah.
so keeping with the theme of the future of biz tech, what are your future plans? Is there any new, I mean, is there anything you can talk about
Mhm.
that your goals of what you guys are trying to accomplish? Any new industries you're trying to enter, any new features you're trying to release, something like that?
Yeah, so you're getting the inside scoop. So
Ooh,
we beta launched our consumer app. So you can download the Liquid Donate app for consumer use in the Google App Store or the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And you can simply take a picture of an item that you would like to donate. And our software will then give you, as an individual user, the ability to download a shipping label for a nonprofit that wants that item, and then put it in a box and ship it directly away.
that's amazing because I was literally just thinking the other day because like I have computers that just stack up because
Yeah.
every time I get a new one, I just give them to friends. I give them to people maybe who can't afford them. I just like, hey, who wants this old Apple? I mean, and they're not. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just outdated for me for what I'm using mine for. And I just have all this
Perfect for a
stuff kind of
school or a
sitting around.
nonprofit.
Yeah, and there's this nonprofit around here called Kids Tech, which I like donating to because they help get technology for kids who can't afford it. So I like that, right? But your app sounds like it gives me all the options essentially, and it can just pair me right away, and it takes care. The one thing I don't do, I don't sit there and write down like how much was that worth. Like it's just not even convenient for me. I forget about it. I think about how much tax break I'm probably losing every year by
Yeah.
just simply not really getting around to the process of like recording it and keeping it for tax season, whereas your software just does that automatically.
And just imagine what if you use the Liquid Donate app for all of your donations throughout the year of 2025? And then when
Yeah.
you go to do your taxes, our goal here is to have a TurboTax integration. So you could just click it like Plaid, and it would actually pull all of your donations in and tell you whether you should take the itemized deduction or whether you
Yeah,
should take the standard deduction based on all of the receipts that you have.
that's brilliant. I love it. What advice would you give to either new or current CEOs trying to, especially let's say in the software industry, trying to make their way, something more general that is applicable to all of them?
Do something that you're passionate about. It's the hardest thing that I've ever done is running a company. And I've done some pretty hard things in my life. And if I didn't care deeply about the problem that I am trying to solve, it would be very difficult for me to get out of bed and do it every day. And so I think when you're thinking about starting a company or when you are running a company, find a way to really connect to the mission.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I remember I heard someone else say that you don't have to be passionate about the business. I'm pretty sure Waste Management wasn't passionate about trash. And I said, yeah, but they were passionate about business. Like they were passionate about logistics and process. They were process driven. Like if you're someone who's OCD, right? Waste management's actually pretty awesome for you if you think about all the things that have to be in line for it, right? So I'm like, I believe you. I'm with you on this that the passion doesn't have to necessarily be in the industry itself as much as the process and what gets you out of bed every day. Are you challenged? And is it going to get you through the parts that really suck? And there are plenty that really suck. It is a roller coaster that we sit on, right? With the very high highs and very low lows. But um, listen, I want to personally thank you for being on the show. Where can people find you and where would they find Liquid Donate specifically?
Yeah. So luckily, since our name is Liquidonate, you can find us on social media under Liquidonate. We say don't liquidate, Liquidonate. And on social media, I'm not on it. I'm not a big fan. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Disney Petit, representing the company, and the company is on all the socials.
Well, that's where most of our people are anyway. We got a LinkedIn demographic, right? Listen, for anybody listening right now, if you liked the show, give it a 5-star rating, share it. Listen, that's how geeks like us find cool tech podcasts like this, right? Again, Disney, thank you so much for being on the show. And I will be signing up to your website for my nonprofit and telling my friends about it. And I do want to check out the beta version on the consumer side. So if you have like a little private login for me, I want to take a look at that.
You don't even need it. You can just download it and access it right away.
Oh, I almost felt special. I almost.
I mean, we didn't announce it publicly yet, so that's
Ah,
cool.
there we go. I'll take it. Thank you so much for being on Disney. We'll
It
talk
was a
soon.
pleasure. Thank you so much.